Welcome back, miners. My name is Amber Johnston, and I'm a counselor here at Student Wellbeing.
And I'm Tracy Kriegel, and I'm a counselor here at Student Wellbeing. It's time for your morning cup of joe. I don't know about you, Amber, but I'm loving this Missouri weather.
I don't know, Tracy. It's starting to get pretty hot.
Perfect pool or river weather.
Well, yeah, but it's also kind of nice to be by the AC sometimes too. Like when it gets a little past that 100 mark. Yeah. But no, seriously, I like getting outdoors and playing in the water too, and I like hiking and doing all kinds of outdoor stuff. But sometimes that just the temperature gauge just gets a little too hot.
Right. Can't get enough of the sun these days. It's like, how about that sun?
I agree. I like how it gets dark later and later. We have so many, the days are so long. We have so many hours in the day and get to do stuff. Although it's kind of difficult sometimes to get my kids to go to sleep when it's bright outside. It's almost 10 o'clock at night.
True. So very true, Amber. Which brings us to our topic today on the show, which is how the morning time and the sun can affect your sleep and your mood. Have you ever heard people say, I need sun time?
Absolutely.
I just wish I could soak up some rays. I crave being outdoors, or I miss the sun. I need pool time. So want to be at the beach. I've heard so many people say that. Of course, we don't have the beach here in Missouri, but hey, what's that place called just outside of town?
The Fugitive
Beach, yes.
Yes.
So somewhat we've got a place here in Missouri, well, Raleigh, Well, all too often we hear our friends make these comments, but have we ever stopped to ask ourselves, why is it that we want to do these things?
I want to say that it's a simple answer, because it makes us feel good. I mean, the sun's kind of warm, makes your skin all feel warm and cozy. And
yeah, well, I guess you could say it's simple, but, chemical production, that might be a simple answer.
Well, too bad our chemical engineers and our biomedical students couldn't chime in on this one. I'm sure they'd have a lot to say about chemical production and how our brains, endocrine system and all that kind of stuff.
Right, that's a good one, Amber. So I think we can say it's not really a simple answer. So, Amber, what chemical is it that actually makes us or causes us to feel good, or gives us that feel-good effect when we go outside and lay in the sun or go to the beach or engage in activities that we enjoy?
Ooh, it's that magical one that we hear about all the time, serotonin.
Woohoo.
It's like that commercial that you see with that lady, because I'm sure everybody's heard of SSRIs and serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And so there's this commercial where this lady's got this happy emoji face and a sad emoji face on a popsicle stick, and she's just switching them out. And, yeah. So it's serotonin is the happy chemical.
Right. That's interesting. So, the other day I was reading this article and it was titled The Discovery of Serotonin and Its Role in Neuroscientists. And the person who wrote it was Dr. Patricia Mack Whitaker Osmatia. Great name, right? And it was interesting read to discover how serotonin was actually discovered.
Well, don't keep it a secret. Tell us, what did she have to say?
Right? I know. So, I'm a research buff. So, but according to the article, serotonin in many ways gave birth to the field of neuroscience, which I'm always kind of interested in. So the article spoke with several prominent scientists whose work led to the discovery and the research around serotonin. The first scientist who was the researcher was Dr. Ersmer. He worked at the Institute of Comparative Anatomy and Physiology at the University of Pavia in Italy. He was working with smooth muscle constriction, and he was working specifically at the time in the 1930s, just a few years ago, right? On studies on the contracting properties of the skin and the intestines of various species. The substance that he found of interest, which is in the EC cells of the gut, he named the substance enteramine, which was what we are going to find, pretty soon to be called serotonin. He named the substance enteramine, but he studied other specimens and found enteramine in the salivary glands, the uterus, and the heart, to mention just a few. Dr. Palmer, along with other research scientists over the years, Irvin Page, Maurice Rapport, Arda Green, just to mention a few, were major contributors in the field of research. If you're wondering, enteramine, like I said, was rebranded in 1937 to be called what we know today as serotonin by the American pharmaceutical company Upjohn Pharmaceutical.
What's Upjohn?
Right, they brand many different pharmaceuticals today,
So it sounds like serotonin doesn't just affect our mood. It sounds like it affects a lot of the organs in our body and our systems in the body.
That's right, Amber. So when I was looking at the research, I was amazed what the specific symptoms that serotonin actually does affect. So I found that serotonin affects nearly every major organ in our body. So for example, the complex regulation of the heart. So if you're wanting to keep your heart beating, serotonin's involved. Regulation of the respiratory drive, so breathing, and the serotonin actually affects that. Regulation of the gastric emptying, which is, keeps our gut going. Pain and nociception, so if you're having some pain, serotonin's involved in that. Early embryonic development, which I think is pretty cool. So didn't know that serotonin had anything to do with embryonic development. Vasoconstriction and dilation, pretty interesting things. So, and if you're interested in any of the SIDS study, take a look at that because that's some pretty interesting studies when you're looking at that. So yeah.
Right. I've read those studies, and it's really interesting, the correlation between serotonin and SIDS levels. And when you kind of put that into perspective with the fact that it runs in families, then you get into some interesting thought processes there in like how these neurotransmitters can affect us.
Yeah, so people who've lost babies to SIDS, if you're interested in that, check out that research because there's some really interesting topics that go along with serotonin and SIDS. So there's a lot of information there. The list is pretty long. But serotonin is a very important neurotransmitter, which got me to thinking, why would it be important to do a podcast on the subject about serotonin?
Well, I think I see where you're going. People understood what serotonin did and its effects, then people would be paying attention to how to get it and how to get more of it.
Right, exactly, Amber. So that's why when I came across the information from this website, it was called 1000hoursoutside.com. I was super excited to read about the role serotonin plays when we expose ourselves to early morning sunlight.
Yes, this sunlight. Like most of my clients have heard me say this, like I'm a big proponent of getting that first sun like early in the morning. And someone's like, open your curtains and get some sunshine. But because of the melatonin production, not even getting into the serotonin. Like when I suggest it to my clients, it's because it helps us regulate our sleep wake cycles. But when you think about it, serotonin, like exercise and sunlight, are two of the biggest sources of serotonin that we can get, the most accessible.
Right, exactly. So let me break it down for you. According to Dr. Jacob Liberman, who is an ophthalmologist, when light enters the eyes, it sends signals to the eyes with time of day info that travels to the brain and the body. So sunlight is the wake-up message to the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland thus responds by releasing hormones. And so bright morning light says to the body, stop melatonin production and increase cortisol and serotonin. The pineal gland that is responsible for metabolizing the serotonin into melatonin to help you sleep.
So the basic piece of this is if we go outside and we take a walk in the morning, then our body then kind of gets this clue, hey, it's time to wake up, it's time to get going. So we feel more awake than a cup of coffee when you think about it.
Right.
You're more awake, you're more rejuvenated, and then it starts that biological clock, the ticking towards when it's evening time and it's time for the melatonin to kick in and for us to go to sleep. So our body naturally regulates when we should be awake and when we should be asleep based on the sun and what sunlight we take into our body.
Right, exactly. You got it. So for all you folks who like to be midday sleepers, who are having difficulty sleeping at night, try a 20 to 30 minute dose of morning sun to get your serotonin levels boosted to see how those serotonin levels react. I would challenge every listener who's listening today or in the future to try the sunlight before noon challenge and see how well you do. You can check out the link in the comments below to access the challenge, but I also want to go on to say, if you're a person who has to sleep with your bedroom window, your shades closed, or you have to, you like all of your house dark, open up those shades, let that morning sunlight in. If you don't have time to get outside to go for that walk, let the sunlight in. Mm-hmm. There's a song. What is that? Let the sunshine in. It is an old song.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name of it.
I know, there's just an old song, but let the sunshine in. Just bring in the morning light. So take that challenge. So.
Right. And it really is that simple. Mm-hmm. It would be nice if we could all get the motivation to get up and take a walk, but I don't know about you. Like I walk a lot, and still the early morning walk, my bed calls my name a little too much. But just being able to get the sunlight in by opening the curtains. Right. Drink your coffee, but drink it next to the open curtains. Yeah. Just let the sunlight hit you for a little bit. Or, if you're not a coffee drinker, drink your tea or whatever you do in the morning, part of your morning routine. Just do it next to the window with the curtains open.
Yeah, a porch you can sit on. Go out and sit on the porch, or if you're here on campus, just sit on a bench, for just a few minutes and absorb some sunlight on your skin. Any place you can get that natural sunlight is going to be helpful to get that serotonin production up and going, which is going to be so helpful, and I think it's any time before noon, so it's that morning challenge, and I think that's going to be critical for people, because I hear students say all the time, I sleep till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon because I don't have classes till 3. Right. So I don't have classes till 1. I don't have classes till 2. So, used to when you're in high school, you had to be up and out of bed and going. And so we missed that morning cycle. So creating that morning wake cycle to get that 20 to 30 minutes before noon is going to be critical for that serotonin production. So.
Well, and we end up with so many people that hit their late teens, early 20s, and they start having sleep disruptions. Right. And it has to do a lot with this not getting our sun exposure when we should. Mm-hmm. And then what ends up happening is because we're awake so much later, because we're awake after the sun gets going, it goes down, and we expose ourselves to bright light then. Right. And so even though it's just artificial light, our brain still takes it in, and it stops that melatonin production, so that when we are actually ready to go to sleep, our brain doesn't know, hey, is it day? Is it night? Should I be producing serotonin? Should I be producing melatonin? What am I doing?
Right. Yeah, it's difficult. So I think it's important that we work on, trying to see if we can grab that serotonin, to boost that up. So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast today. Try to take that 20 to 30 minute dose of sunshine, because there are so many, complex regions, complex organs in the body who benefit from the serotonin production. If you have questions, make some comments in the links below. Reach out to us here, at Student Wellbeing. If you've got questions, I'm sure we'd be glad to answer those for you. Mm-hmm. So
let your serotonin do some magic.
That's right. All right. Have a great day, Miners.
Okay. Thanks, and you guys have a great week. For more information about mental health and wellness, contact Student Wellbeing at 204 Norwood Hall. And you can also give us a call at 573-341-4211.
The song Happy Days is brought to us by music from www.free-stock-music.com. You can also add and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook using our handle @S&T Wellbeing.